Good day, this is Luke, and today I am going to be reading short stories. I hope you enjoy. Story number 1. I heard this when I was in Korea. One day a girl was walking home late one night after work or something like that. It was dark and around midnight. She lived in an apartment where they had elevators. She got in the elevator, and when the door was about to close, a strange man with a very red hoodie entered the elevator. He apologized for scaring her and asked which floor she was heading to. Without making any eye contact, she told him out of fear, and the man casually pressed the button and the one below. As they were on the way, he asked her for her cell phone, if he could use it, but she declined out of suspicion and isolated herself in the corner. After seconds of silence, the elevator arrived on the floor below the one the girl was heading to, and the door opened. The guy slowly walked out of the door and turned around, facing towards the elevator and the girl, and just stared at her without any movements. Slowly the door started to close, and from the gap she could see him turn around, heading for upstairs, pulling a knife out of his pocket. Second story.
Daddy, I had a bad dream.
You blink your eyes and pull up your elbows. Your clock glows red in the dark. It's 3:23. Do you want to climb into bed and tell me about it?
No, Daddy.
The oddness of the situation wakes you up more. You can barely make out your daughter's pale face. Why not, sweetie?
Because in my dream, when I told you about the dream, the thing wearing Mommy's skin sat up.
For a moment, you feel paralyzed. You can't take your eyes off your daughter. The covers behind you began to shift. Story number 3. 2 days after my grandfather died, the neighborhood security guard knocked on our door on a Sunday morning. He told us an old man came to your house earlier, knocked on your door for half an hour, and finally left. When I asked him what he wanted, he told me he needed to say goodbye to someone he had never had the chance to meet. We were all stunned, had no idea who this old man was or who he was looking for. When the guard came in, he shouted, "That's the old man," pointing at a picture of my grandfather. My entire family froze for a minute. I'm not 100% sure if the guard was telling the truth, but I almost like believing that my granddad wanted to say goodbye to my newborn sister before resting in peace. Fourth story. When my family hit hard times, we had to move into a small house where our uncle had recently shot and killed himself. He had done this because of his depression after his wife had overdosed on pills and died the summer before. It all happened so quickly that when we moved in, there was still a bit of blood in the one bathroom. But on the third or fourth night of living there, my sister and I, who were sharing a room in the tiny house, were awake in our room playing video games at around 1 or 2 in the morning when someone knocked at our door. We didn't think anything of it at first and shouted for whoever was outside our door to come in. No answer. Another knock. We stopped and stared at each other, and then stared at the door. Another knock comes. The doorknob does a full rotation and snaps back as if someone turned it and let go very quickly. I get up and open the door, expecting to see one of my other sisters or my mother, the only other people in the house. I walk down the hall and peek into the other bedroom. My 2 younger sisters and my mother are both fast asleep. Fifth story. I have a really good one that is actually true. It happened to me. This could have been a dream, but I testify to this day that what I saw was a ghost. So here I am, a young boy who awoke in the middle of the night. I am currently sharing a bunk bed with my brother, and I am on the top bunk. I look out into the living room and notice everything is dark. However, there is a person in an evening gown dusting my fireplace mantle. The woman was slender, which threw me off guard because my mom is obese. I yelled out, "Mom," to the person dusting the counter, and the person turned around. It was not my mom, but some older woman. Suddenly she shrieked and her face became severely deformed. It was like that shit you see in horror movies, like ridiculously scary, especially for a young kid. I blinked my eyes and she was gone. I somehow went back to bed, and the next morning I went to the living room and noticed that even though the TV was off, there was something written on the screen. It said, "Do not be afraid." The text slowly faded and no one else saw it. As a young boy, this was, and still is, extremely terrifying to me. Story 6. I still have fresh memories of this. When I was very young, about 3 or 4, I remember having a friend named Ali. Ali lived with me and I would play hide and seek with her in the backyard. Ali was a year older than me. Ali loved my mom but wouldn't stay long enough to meet her. My mom didn't believe I had a friend named Ali. I kept telling her, and my mom first got a very white face and told me stop, and Ali isn't real. Well, one night Ali told me she had to leave, so she did. Never heard from her again. Fast forward to when I was 16, and my mom told me that before I was born I had a sister named Ali, and she had passed away due to complications. I don't remember what the problem was. Something about her lungs, I think. My mom tells me that it was probably a coincidence, since a divorce was going on during that time and I wanted a friend. But I still remember everything about Ali, and I refuse to believe it was all pretend.